that turkey is resting beautifully and comfortably, I might add. And now we've got all those lovely drippings in the bottom of the pan. It's called fond, by the way, like I'm fond of good gravy. We're going to make good gravy. A lot of people get intimidated by this, and it's just really not that difficult once you understand a few very simple things. First of all, make sure you have enough liquid in here. If you don't, then get some. And guess what? This is where we have the turkey water. Remember that? We made that from the neck and from the parson's nose. Yeah, and that is all going to come into play right now. And now that little reject turkey water, we just turn up the heat, and we're going to get this thing going here. We've got a beautiful golden color, and there's little pieces of turkey flotation devices in here. It's little pieces of skin and what have you. Some people are real purists, and they're going to take a sieve and get rid of it all and make it nice and smooth and silky. I'm more rustic in that I like all these little pieces of stuff in here because that's what gives it the flavor and a little bit of texture. Not into the giblets. I don't like anything with innards in it. I'm sorry. I know some people are just giblet fans, and on my Facebook there was a lot of people saying, oh, show us how to make giblet gravy. And I'll tell you what I did with those giblets. My cat has them now, so I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan. So you're going to make gravy my way, and this is the easy way, and I'm telling you it has knockout flavor. First of all, I tasted this earlier, and you're getting all the, of course, like I said, you're getting all the drippings from the turkey. The turkey has a lot of flavor, and you saw I put the sage and the thyme and salt and peppered it nicely, and then put the butter and the olive oil over the top. Well, now I tasted this. The salt is perfect. I do not need to salt at all. However, I've got a rainbow peppercorn mixture. It has black pepper and white pepper in it, which is just right. I like white pepper in gravy because I think it just adds a really nice flavor and dimension. It brings out the flavor of whatever it is that you're making. Now, once this gets up to temperature, you just keep going a little bit more and a little bit more, okay? It's starting to boil and it's starting to simmer. Now, you're going to freak out when I show you what I'm doing next. But one of the things that destroys a good Thanksgiving dinner or any kind of holiday dinner is the gravy hog sitting at your table. You know who they are, and you might be that gravy hog. What happens is the gravy hog gets the gravy boat and he empties it out onto his his plate, which looks like a platter. He takes the mashed potatoes and he makes a big deep pool in it so that he puts 2 ladles of gravy inside. Then he drowns his turkey, and before you know it, by the time the gravy gets to you, there's 2 drops in it. So this is the cure for the gravy hog. You extend your gravy. And I'm not big into these little packages of anything, and I don't recommend this on a daily basis, but at Thanksgiving, this will save your turkey and your ham and your beef. You just get a little thing of this turkey gravy stuff. You empty it in there. You whisk it in and you use chicken broth. Nobody is the wiser. And I'm telling you, all it does is adds to what you've already got going on. Okay? If you can see this, it's just nice and brown and velvety. Okay, we're letting it heat up again. And then the next thing that we're going to do is add our roux. And this is just made, you know, you can make roux in 150 different ways. Like you were in New Orleans, you'd be making this, you'd be browning it on the stove, and you'd be using olive oil and butter, and you'd be using flour and cooking it that way. And that is excellent, and it's a good way. It's like the best roux and great way to make. This one is just straight flour and water. And remember, always use cold water. We're going to talk about what to do if you get a couple of little lumps in there. You don't want to add too much. You want to add a little bit at a time. One of the things that I do too when I'm making my gravy is I don't use regular flour. I use this stuff called Wondra, and it's extra thin pulverized flour. And it works really, really good. And it's in a canister, and you know, basically that's what it's there for. It's for making sauces. And you know, a lot of people say, well, how do you do this gluten-free? It's really easy gluten-free. You can just add some potato starch to this, arrowroot flour, and you just make it like you would a regular a regular gravy. It's just the same old thing. You just change out the starch that you use to thicken it up. And this is a nice texture. I like it a little bit thicker, but rather than adding more flour to it, I like to reduce it down a little, and hence the reason why we love having a little extra chicken broth, because you can add the chicken broth to thin it out a little bit as you need it. But basically that's how you make gravy, and I'm going to let that go for about, another 2 minutes. You can see it's cooking, and it's going to reduce it down, and when you reduce it down, you change the texture a little bit, you make it a little bit thicker, and you also intensify the flavor. So that's how gravy is made, and that's how a good gravy is made. Now, let's talk about troubleshooting. What if you get into trouble with your gravy, and what if you all of a sudden have all these nasty, horrible lumps? Don't worry about it. All you need to do is use this tricky little thing, your sieve, and pour your gravy, once it's cooled down a little bit, all the way through, and all the lumps will be left behind. Don't try to get those lumps back in there. Get rid of the lumps. The lumps are history. You don't want them. If it's really bad and kind of coagulated and nasty, then add a little chicken broth, put it in the blender, and blend it up, and you'll be all good to go. Make sure that you don't have too much fat. If you have too much fat in the pan, just pour the pan down this way. Grab a spoon like this. Ooh, I can't do that. It's too hot. This way, grab a spoon, and the fat goes to the top, pull it off, and just discard it. You want a little bit of fat in there, but on the other hand, you don't want it to turn into a grease fest. You want the flavor of the turkey, you want the juice of the turkey, you don't want all that grease. So there you go. And in my opinion, that's perfect turkey gravy. Enjoy.